I'm Karan Kamal, co-founder of Future Factor 360. I'm delighted to be a part of today's panel discussion on skilling talent, a key imperative for every ER&D organization. I would like to thank NASSCOM for organizing this discussion today. Let me begin by sharing some context about today's topic. Digital is no longer a choice or a buzzword for global enterprises, but it is a business imperative. Today, digital is key for business growth, operational excellence, customer delight, and competitive differentiation. The ER&D industry has grown significantly in the recent years, with many organizations now developing next-gen digital-first products and services. The entire industry across verticals is witnessing a rapid digital transformation, leading to huge demand for talent skilled in emerging technologies. McKinsey has reported that the pandemic has accelerated the pace of digital transformation by almost 7 years. This sudden acceleration in digital transformation has created a huge demand for digital skill sets, resulting in a wide talent gap. Right. It is estimated that as of today, there is a gap of 6 million in terms of digital skills across 8 countries that includes India, China, the US, and Europe. A large portion of the current working population lacks the foundational digital skills. In fact, more than 50% of the companies acknowledge that digital gap is widening and has impacted the ability to drive competitive advantage. Also, given the rapid pace of technological innovation, it is expected that the skills relevant today may no longer be relevant tomorrow. The Future of Jobs report by the World Economic Forum states that half of us will need to reskill by 2025 as the double disruption of economic impacts of the pandemic and increasing automation and digitalization is transforming the jobs that we hold. It is expected that by 2025, 85 million jobs may be displaced by a shift in division of work between humans and machines. But even more jobs, 97 million, may actually emerge that are more adapted to the new division of labor between humans, machines, and algorithms. Thus, skilling has become the most important imperative for every organization. Today, in this panel discussion, we will deep dive into some of the nuances of skilling that includes reskilling and upskilling of talent, and how companies can address the skilling needs, overcome some of the challenges related to talent skilling. We will also discuss how organizations can leverage platforms like NASSCOM Future Skills, amongst others, to rapidly skill the workforce. Without any further ado, let me introduce the panel members for today's discussion. Today, we have Dr. KNS Acharya, Director of Global Engineering Academy at L&T Technology Services, Krishna Bandaro, Executive Leadership Team at Skill-Lync, Dr. Ravi Kumar, Associate VP and Head of Advanced Engineering Group at Infosys. So let's have each one of them introduce themselves. Dr. KNS, if you can go first, please.
Thank you so much, Karan. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for inviting me for this exciting discussion today. My brief background started off with me being a pure academician, researcher, etc. But somehow the industry pull and the technological shifts that we're seeing, it attracted me to the industry circle. For the last 20 years, I have traveled through companies like Honeywell, Infosys, KPIT Technologies, and for the last 2.5 years with LTTS Technologies. And each of these companies, my focus has been to understand what do our customers want in terms of the emerging skills, and how does organization prepares itself their current talent as well as the future talent in these spaces, by setting up some very interesting collaborations with the customers, with stakeholders, and with the university partnerships, so on and so forth. That has been the space I have been, and it's an exciting space to be in today, tomorrow, and every time. Thanks, Karan.
Thank you so much, Dr. KNS. Krishna, if you could go next.
Hey, thanks, Karan. Thanks to NASSCOM for having all of us on this call. I think it's echoing. Dr. Ravi Kumar, if you could just go on mute, please. Great. My name is Krishna Bandaro. I'm a part of the executive leadership team at Skill-Lync. Prior to Skill-Lync, I was a managing director and a partner with Accenture Strategy. Skill-Lync is essentially a platform upskilling both college graduates and experienced professionals with a very high focus on the ER&D sector, that is the product engineering services. And we will talk more about it in the discussion. Back to you, Karan.
Thank you so much. So Dr. Ravi, if you could go next, please.
Thank you, Karan. First of all, thank you, NASSCOM, for giving us this wonderful opportunity. I'm Ravi Kumar, currently head the Advanced Engineering Group at Infosys. Advanced Engineering Group is a kind of specialized group looking after some of the technically challenging and also the next generation projects. As part of this particular group, I focus on 8 different areas. These includes Industrial IoT, Industry 4.0, robotics and autonomous systems, AI and the machine learning, augmented reality and virtual reality, composites and advanced materials, knowledge-based engineering, advanced simulations, and additive manufacturing. And I'm with Infosys for the past 20 years. As part of a product that was acquired from Ministry of Defense, Government of India, myself, my entire team moved to Infosys. At Ministry of Defense, I worked for the Indian Light Combat Aircraft program, more specifically in the composites product development and also the software tool development. Before Ministry of Defense, I was a scientist in Corporate R&D Center, Tata Research Center. Did my master's and PhD from IIT Delhi, bachelor's from BITS Pilani. So that's about me. Look forward for this wonderful discussion today.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ravi. So let's begin with you, right? So I did share the context in terms of the talent gap that the companies are facing. So at Infosys, you head the advanced engineering group. You have a deep insight into what some of what the customers are expecting. So what are those areas where you are actually witnessing a deep and a significant talent gap? And what are some of the challenges that are being created owing to this, both for your customers as well as for a service provider like Infosys?
Thank you, Karan. That was a wonderful question. In fact, as you have beautifully alluded in the beginning, that industry is embracing digitalization and Industry 4.0 technologies to improve business resilience, reduce cost of operations, improve efficiencies, and also to improve customer satisfaction. Smart, connected, autonomous, and next generation products and services are increasingly being used. Information technology is coming closer to the operation technology. We call this as IT/OT integration, which is more of a vertical integration connecting the asset on shop floor to the top floor. Entire industry is getting connected horizontally through a digital thread. Digital thread connects the asset across its life cycle from OEM to supplier to operator to maintenance service provider to regulator to disposer in the product ecosystem. It is a digital nervous system which will help in realizing circular economy, traceability, compliance, safety, and regulations. It is equally applicable for both brownfield as well as the greenfield environments. It helps in business resilience, enabling the organizations agile and responsive to the market conditions. The pandemic has accelerated the digital penetration. Remote operations and maintenance are enabled through technology. This has resulted in high demand for multiple digital skills. If you look at it, all these skills, first thing is design thinking skills. Identify customer needs, understand the current technology capability and landscape, provide solutions to the problems, evaluate viability of the solution. So that's one layer. Then the other one is the core engineering skills, engineering the solution from design, implementation, testing, and to deployment. In-depth knowledge in the digital areas. Of course, if you look at the design phase, earlier we used to have a conventional CAD, CAE, CFD, virtual product development related areas. Now, a lot of focus has moved to the model-based systems engineering, optimization, AI, and digital trends. In the supply chain area, a lot of these track and trace technologies, inbound logistics, outbound logistics, IoT, AI, blockchain are very much important to transform this particular part of the business. In the manufacturing side, more specifically in the operations, maintenance, quality, warehouse, IoT, AI, blockchain, robotics, and autonomous technologies, AR, VR, digital twins, cybersecurity are the core skills that are changing the landscape of the manufacturing. Services It is all about the product support and operations, IoT, AI, blockchain, AR, VR, digital twins. And more or less, if you look at the software and the hardware skills, everybody is looking at the full stack development, big data, user experience, UI related. Sustainability and green energy, non-conventional energy generation, transmission and distribution. These are some of the things. Engineering boundaries are blurring. Okay, we can't say that I'm a mechanical engineer or an electrical engineer, I will do only this. We need to have multiple skills. We now need systems approach to solve the problem holistically. The skills are similar across the industries with certain specifics. For example, automotive industry is embracing connected, autonomous, and electric technologies. Sustainability has become much more prominent for industries like mining and oil and gas. Talent is critical in delivery. We need people with the deep domain, technology, product development, operations, and maintenance skills. The talents need to be agile, adaptive to the technology evolution, and they should be continuous learners. That's the few things from my side.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ravi. So coming to you, Krishna, you are a part of the leadership team at Skill-Lync. As a company, you are focused on skilling your talent. Dr. Ravi spoke about some of the demand side view of, where is it that we are witnessing the highest traction. But from the supply side, in terms of the talent that's been that's getting skilled on your platform, so where is it that you're seeing the highest demand in terms of the skill sets that that individuals want to get train themselves in? And have you seen some kind of a shift in willingness to learn post the COVID era?
Sure, Karan. Great question. So let me answer that in 2-3 parts, right? I think first thing is when you talk about the supply side, maybe I'll take some experience about based on the kind of profiles that we have on our platform. We have approximately about 10,000 people learning on our platform at any point of time, specifically who want to enter the ER&D sector that we are talking about on this call. And most of these 10,000 I'm talking about are freshers. These are people who've recently graduated or people who are in their final year of engineering. Plus, there are about another 5,000 people of working professionals who are already working in the industry, but they want to upskill themselves. And the last part of the question you asked is about the corporates. What are the kind of areas they want corporates want to upskill their employees on? So we have a list of engineering services companies or captives or Indian OEMs who actually manufacture vehicles of their own, who are using our platform. So I will talk about the supply and what are the courses being taken in each of these 3 segments, right? Coming to the first segment, that is the fresh graduates, right? They, I think, follow the industry pretty well. Like the industry is moving towards overall, they want to service electric vehicles, they want to do medical equipment. Medical equipment needs to be redesigned, a lot of aviation, and a lot of mining equipment as well, right? A lot of engineering, research, and design services to all of these 4 sectors. We see a lot of demand for, as a sector, electric vehicles, autonomous. A lot of people want to learn about ADAS. A lot of demand for embedded systems. When it comes to in the automotive sector, if I have to say, it's electrical vehicle, autonomous, and automotive embedded systems, right? That is one area. Second is, even when they come to traditional areas like design, etc., it is a lot of model-based design that they want to learn, correct? And also there's a lot of design automation that's happening. So I think mechanical engineers also need to learn Python, etc., in order to automate some of their traditional engineering processes. Now, when it comes to a lot of electrical engineers, they get into a lot of embedded systems. They get into a lot of model-based design using tools like MATLAB, Skill-Lync. They also want to get into the electrical and electronics engineers also want to get into some of the computer science domains like data analytics, full stack web development, or automotive cybersecurity, right? And when we talk about data analytics, it's not on sales, marketing, and insurance data, but data analytics based on engineering data. How are you going to use data analytics in the engineering domain, in the manufacturing domain, right? Similarly, with cybersecurity, it's not enterprise application level security, but it is product level cybersecurity, right? Where the standards are different for different product categories, right? I will not touch on the civil engineering aspect too much here, given that our ER&D sector doesn't focus too much there. But there's a lot of interest in also in plant engineering, right? I think plant engineering with software tools, plant engineering with again model-based, a lot of BIM, building information modeling, even for civil engineers, right? So we see a lot of core engineers wanting to stay in the domain, but to stay in the domain, they need to learn the new computational tools, right? It's a mixture of engineering software plus Python or some data analytics, which helps to reskill themselves and which helps them in employment and upskilling. That is the first segment. Very quickly, the second segment, people who are already working, they already know what's happening in the industry, right? So they want to upskill themselves to get to a better job or to take on more challenging projects. So typically they want to, I see a lot of demand for electric vehicle and autonomous vehicles. We see a lot of people working in organizations like Bosch, Ashok Leyland, all of those companies, but taking up courses on their own to upskill themselves. From the corporate sides, I see two kinds of demand. Number one is they want to get their fresh joiners ready as soon as possible, right? They want to ensure that these guys become productive. Instead of waiting to finish 5-6 months in training them, can they provide an e-learning platform in order to skill themselves even before joining the company, right? Here, I see a lot of focus. I think maybe it's a flavor or is the trend in the recent times, a significant amount of focus on embedded systems, a significant amount of focus on electric vehicle design, and increasing demand also in the area of cybersecurity, right? Of course, analytics is always there. So these are the three sectors and the three areas, Karan. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Krishna, for sharing those insights. So we heard from both Dr. Ravi and Krishna about the digital talent gap, the rising demand for these skill sets, and how the industry, how the individuals who are a part of this industry are also working towards reskilling themselves. Coming to you, Dr. KNS, L&T Technology Services has been at the forefront of some of the skilling initiatives that you've embarked on. So what are those skilling initiatives that you have implemented to address these talent gaps? What approaches are being taken to also probably look at addressing the future skill gaps? And how do you think organizations can actually go about laying out their skilling strategy and roadmap? And most importantly, while there are tools, technologies, platforms being available, how do you ensure that, how do we create a learning culture within an organization? So some insights on that, Dr. KNS.
Yeah, thanks, Karan. I think Dr. Ravi painted a beautiful picture of the emerging landscape of skills today, tomorrow, and where the gaps are coming in. And Krishna talked about the platforms which are enabling the different segment of population. At LTTS, what we have done is, first of all, I may slightly differ in saying that digital as a skill being carved out separately, that is going away. What I mean by that is digital is becoming sort of a given norm of skills that are needed for every engineer. We are not calling engineers as a digital engineer and non-digital engineer. Those days are going away because everyone needs to have fundamental knowledge of digital skills across all the industry sector, be it telecom, medical, this, that, etc. That is a common thing. That is point number one. Second one is one of the nerve centers that we realized about a couple of years back is the nomenclature of skills that are necessary for each of the industry verticals and horizontals must be very well documented in the industry, right? And that should become the foundation for every employee who comes into the organization. We must be able to put him or her in a particular bucket. Where do they belong in terms of their core domain skills, that is core domain industry vertical skills, as well as core horizontal skills. So what we have done is we have created what is called the skill matrix in the company, which is the foundation where every 20,000 plus employees in the organizations, we are able to pull out what skills this person, what is his primary skill, what is his secondary skill, what is his tertiary skill, which horizontal, which vertical. That is the one which will drive the usability of the person now, and where we have to use this person in later days. So that is one thing which we have done. And while we did it grounds up in a very hard way, but I think today when I scan the landscape, there are some fantastic tools available. I was recently interacting with an Australian company, which have done a fantastic job of putting these things. How do you create this structure very easy? I think that is one thing that I would strongly recommend for every industry to adopt the entire developing the skill matrix needed for the organizations. That is number one. Secondly, how do you keep it up to date is very important. It's not creation only once. It has to be how frequently you update it. What is the process for updation by the employees? It could be because they complete a project, it should get updated. They get a training, they need to get updated. There are people coming from laterals from industry, it should get updated. So how recency is your skill matrix is one initiative that we have taken up, and it is giving us some decent results. So while you have the skills and skill definitions, you require different initiatives for continuously skilling people. I agree with Krishna that people who come from the fresh out of campuses, no matter what we say, there is a huge gap between what universities still teach and what industries want. So every company has put together a structure for quickly skilling these people into the required skills of the business verticals and horizontals, right? We have gone one step further, where we have gone saying that there are different skills needed for master's students and there are different skills needed for the undergraduate students. We have two different varieties of programs. We do take a lot of masters, unlike many other companies, where specialization audits and practice developments are needed. So these programs are really helping us. As we speak, we are running about 22 variants of programs for young graduates coming from different universities. That is another segment. Two interesting things have happened for lateral employees. One is, ideally, the industry is moving away from project-based hiring. I hope you understand what I mean by project hiring. There is a project, there is a skill needed, and then directly identifying a person who is needed for that project. Now, if you look at the job descriptions that are coming in today, most of the projects are asking for gods. We want this skill, this skill, this skill. If you put all those skills together, you will not even find a single person in the market who meets all those requirements. So now it has come to a stage where projects have started accepting that we may get people with 50% skill or 60% skill. So when they come in, we need to put them through a certain cell of skill assessment. I'm using the word skill assessment. Based on the gap that you find in that person, maybe the person will go through a micro modules of learning, maybe for a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and then make them fit into the project. This is one shift that has happened into the continuous education segment. Second one, which is most important one that is happening, is customers have started coming back saying that all that you are doing for your organization is fine, but tell me, what are you doing for me? Me, my engagement with you. So we have started at LTTS a concept called customer specific academies, where while we have the global engineering academy, now customer specific academies, which are focused on what customers want, what is their ramp up plan, what is their 1-year plan, 2-year plan, how can I have a dedicated learning academies created for them. That is the shift that is happening, rather than generally throwing people at customers. So I hope I gave a picture of a skill matrix as a nerve center, the way the freshers get inducted into the organizations where the changes are coming in. Third one being the rather than project level hiring, hire them, assess their skill gaps, and then train them with micro modules. And finally, the customer specific academies. These 3-4 things that we have attempted with fair amount of success at LTTS Karan.
That's very interesting, Dr. KNS, and definitely probably what's the need of the hour in the context of the talent crunch that we are facing in the industry today. So let me move on to Dr. Ravi. So Dr. Ravi, in the beginning, you did mention about how the ER&D industry is being defined by a set of new trends. And Dr. KNS also said that, digital is no longer something separate. It's integral to, an integral skill that's needed today. And the way we look at it is also that, digital requires a combination of both technical transformation and domain skills. So how are you looking at, from an Infosys perspective, how are you looking at, bringing together this technical domain and business transformation skills. And what are some of the challenges that you're facing in terms of the cost, time, investment that's coming in terms of upskilling or reskilling talent?
Okay. No, I think this is a wonderful question, Karan. So if I look at it, right, instead of digital requiring the combination of technical and business transformation skills, I'll put it, current generation engineer and the next generation engineer needs this combination of technical and business transformation skills. Okay, it is very, very important. Okay, this requires deep understanding of the current business, industry drivers, and technology shifts. It is essential to develop deeper understanding of domain and functional skills. Okay, in addition, we need the design thinking skills. If you look at the earlier days, right, when you do a kind of design of any large asset like an aircraft or automobile, all the people sitting in the four walls of the room and brainstorm and then do that. Okay, that is no more possible now because all the teams are collaboratively need to work across the globes and things like that. Okay, that collaboration has become a next generation thing. And also then the virtual product development, right? Earlier we used to struggle to draw a simple curve on a computer. That was the days where I still remember those computer graphics days. And now we are able to visualize large scale aircraft models on a smaller devices like the RDR. So the technology has moved. So it is essential for us to go along with the technology. And of course, the first thing that we all need to understand is the desirability part of it. What is the customer is looking for? What is the problem that he is facing currently? What are his needs? Okay, so that is very, very important. And then the next thing comes is the feasibility part of it, right? You have plethora of technologies, whether digital, non-digital, you call it whatever name it is. Okay, in the current generation, we have these tools and techniques that are available to you. You need to look at it, whether you can solve the current problem, whatever customer is asking, whether you can solve that problem using this technology. Okay, what is the technical feasibility of it? Now, I don't think that only one single technology or two technology will be able to solve the problem. You need to bring multiple technologies together, orchestrate them to solve that particular problem. That is an important angle, the feasibility part of it, technical feasibility. We need to assess. That is an art. This is very, very important. Okay. Then the third one is, which we as engineers will not bother, is the viability part of it. See, in the sense, at the end of the day, I can create a beautiful solution, but it is very, very costly solution at the end of it. I can demonstrate it as a technical demonstrator, but if I'm not able to implement it and scale it, then it is of no use. Okay, so we need to look at that particular important dimensions of viability. Okay, so that's where the commercial angle comes in. We should be able to provide that cost-effective solution to the customer. Then it will be a kind of beautiful solution that you can give. And this entire thing has to come together. Of course, it may not be one single individual, multiple people have to work together. That kind of collaboration, culture, sharing the information has to happen. Okay, so that is where that is very, very important to solve the current problems more so now in this current world. Okay, and it is very, very essential to interact with the industry ecosystem like the NASSCOM, SA International, ISA, IEEE, and many other bodies. A lot of these people are putting together some of the standards and best practices so that the industry will not reinvent the wheel, right? So we all need to look at it, what other people have done, how we can grow together. It is essentially share and grow, okay? And of course, you may ask some of these IP and other related things, but there are a lot of measures that are there which you need to take it. And some of the generic information you should be able to utilize, okay? So that's the important thing. So when you collaborate, not only within an organization, but across the organization in an ecosystem, you can bring some of those cost-effective solutions. And also, when you look at it, the entire teams, right? You have freshers coming into the organization. You have mid-level people. You have the senior people. Each one of them are at a different level as far as the skill is concerned. One thing that connects all of them is continuous learning. Okay, everyone has to learn and then perform. How fast you learn, how fast you use that information to execute your job, that is what is important. That is the one of the key KPI that we need to look at it. Okay, and definitely the industry is changing, and it is going to change much faster than ever before. And those are the few things that I would like to put it across, Karan.
Thank you, Dr. Ravi. Thanks for sharing those insights. So a request to the audience participating today, if you have any questions, please feel free to add those questions in the chat window, and we can bring it up with the panelists today. So as we're running a little short of time, so my request to the panelists would be, to probably keep some of the responses brief. So the question to Dr. KNS is, there are many modes that are being adopted today, right? There is the on-the-job, the self-paced, platform-based approach, the classroom-based approach. Amongst these approaches, which approach do you think is creating, the most experiential, immersive learning experience? And where is it that L&T has probably seen more success? In addition, what are your views on leveraging university partnerships itself to enable skilling? Given the fact that the universities have been slight laggards in terms of being able to be in tune with the industry. So how do you think university partnerships can pan out in terms of enabling skilling and upskilling? So over to you, Dr. KNS.
Yeah,
my request, as I said, is if you could just wrap up your response in about 2 or 3 minutes.
Max,
that'll be.
I will. So one thing is very sure that the learning and pedagogy methods have significantly changed over the years. There were days when it used to be a teacher-centric model. Today it is a learner-centric model. When I say teacher-centric model, teacher used to teach, throwing something at people, and somebody will catch and may or may not catch. Whereas today it is a pull-driven person who wants to learn. They have multiple opportunities to learn the way they want to learn. So the organizations need to provide those learning methodologies. That is number one. Number two, there are two extremes. One, which is completely 100% e-learning driven or self-driven learning, and the other one is completely faculty-driven model. Both of them are not going to give you the 100% solutions. You cannot take out teacher from the process of learning. We'll be doing a mistake if we take out a teacher from the process of learning. That we have learned especially in the last 2 years of pandemic, where we attempted going everything 100% digital. We found that people are not really, at least in India, our talent is not fully geared up for that kind of model. It has to be a blended model. So what we have experimented is that if you segment the entire learning needs into software, embedded and mechanical and plant engineering kind of stuff, etc. Software learning skills are more amenable for 80% or 70% can be learned self-learning, and maybe 20-30% you require a hand-holding from the faculty, etc. Whereas if you go to embedded skills, where you, let us say you have a hardware in the loop system or a board level bring up and boot up systems, etc., you cannot do virtually at all. You have to have a faculty and in classroom experience, hands-on experience is predominant. It flips to 30% online and 70% physical. When you go to mechanical skills, etc., there people have to really work on high-end systems. They have to do a lot of analysis, and this one sitting in front of the system. So I would put it as 80-20, where it has to be 80% has to be taught and 20% has to be done. This I'm telling it from the experience that we have seen and acceptability of the model with the businesses. Now coming to the university partnerships that you spoke about, I think we are wrong in painting all the universities that they are far away from the industry. I am actually pleasantly surprised with the categories of some of the universities with whom we are working with. Some of the Indian universities, maybe yes, they are falling behind, but there are many universities out there, which I know I'm personally working with. They are actually way ahead of the industry. Some of the things that they have done, be it in the industry 4.0, be it in the autonomous vehicle, be it in the vehicle electrical space, etc., their expertise, their technological expertise the projects they have done, the skills that they have, the courses they are offering is way ahead of the industry. It is for us to look for those right kind of partners. And I firmly believe there are opportunities in the industry where industry and university can co-design, co-develop, co-create and co-deliver the masters and undergrad programs, etc. That is the way for it. And in some of my previous companies, we have attempted and it has given us fantastic results. That's where, for want of time, I'm cutting it short, but I hope you got a sense of what I'm, for the question that you asked.
No, absolutely, Dr. KNS, and it's heartening to know that how the Indian universities have evolved over a period of time, and that they are now not laggards, but at the leading edge of the technology evolution itself. So, very interesting insight there, Dr. KNS. Question to you, Krishna. Dr. KNS spoke about how the universities themselves have evolved, but how have you seen, changes in curriculum, changes in the approach when it comes to skilling, right, with the advent of platforms like Skill-Lync and amongst others?
Sure, Karan. I'm timing myself to ensure that I finish in 3 minutes, Karan. See, I think the overall ER&D requires talent in millions, right, over the next 3-4 years, right? And hence, you cannot restrict your talent to the top universities, and hence you need to democratize skills to a large extent. And you have to do it at scale, right? And I graduated from NIT Warangal 20 or 22 years ago, and I heard the term industry-academia collaboration then. I'm hearing it today, right? And I believe that collaboration has not moved at the pace at which the industry requires it to move, right? So what we've learned over the course of time is when you have to impart these skills to a large audience at scale, number one is curriculum. As Dr. KNS and Dr. Ravi Kumar had emphasized, it's very, very important to take the curriculum roadmap from industry professionals who have spent 15+ years of experience in the industry and who know what it takes for an entry-level professional should be equipped with before joining the industry. That is number one, that curriculum. Number two, that curriculum needs to be translated into a content which can be consumed online, offline, physical environment. It needs to be a mixture of basic engineering knowledge, basic physics, plus a lot of application-oriented learning, usage of a lot of computational tools in order to solve industry-grade problems, right? If what you're teaching in videos or online tutoring sessions, etc., is only theory, there's only so much. You're not tilting the scale, right? It has to be application-oriented learning. That is, you got to design some automotive components. You actually got to design electric vehicle components using some industry data sets. What we've realized is people actually start learning when they're doing, and not when they're listening, correct? So it has to be a mixture of it's a flipped classroom model. I mean, you do a learning to a large extent on the basic concepts, etc. But then you need to have the tutor in front of you. It could be a virtual, it could be in person. You need to have the virtual tutor in order to nudge you in the right direction, right? It's never 100% self-learning, right? It doesn't work. It has to be, so rounding off my answer, Karan, number one, curriculum needs to be from the industry experts. Number two, the content needs to be a mixture of basic engineering knowledge plus a lot of assignments and projects which simulate the job that they're going to do, right? And it has to be delivered both through online self-learning mode plus tutor-led sessions, right? And we've seen this work in traditional domains like, let's say, automotive design, APA and CFD, etc. We've seen it work in autonomous vehicles. We've seen it work in electric vehicles. So much so that, one of the leading autonomous vehicle OEM, right? It actually takes a program from us saying that, hey, we are recruiting 400 people every year to work on autonomous vehicle for our parent. We are giving them access to our autonomous vehicle course even before they join them, right? And they're saying that really helps. We're not saying they're 100% ready, but they'll be at least 70% ready instead of being 0% ready.
That's very interesting again, Krishna, in terms of how the whole approach is evolving as well. Question to you, Dr. Keynes. We often see that, while organizations make investments in skilling, there is a challenge in terms of retaining talent post-skilling. So what are some of the steps that you're taking or you recommend that organizations can adopt in terms of reducing the post-skilling attrition?
Yeah. This challenge has not been there only in the recent past. It has been there for many, many years, but it has really got accelerated in the last couple of years. The reason being, the younger generation, they get saturated or they get bored up with the nature of work that they are doing very, very fast. It is the responsibility of the organization to provide them those kind of internal opportunities where they can move from one project to another project to another project. Of course, not disrupting the flow of project in which they are proficient with. Now, some of the things that we are attempting, I don't know whether they are 100% successful yet or not. At our COO office level, he has created a forum where these young engineers can start interacting at a COO level to understand what are the organizational stuff that they want to contribute with. There are many open projects which they can sign up for in the BUs, where they can actually come out of their regular work and also take out some time to contribute for those projects. Second is we have created something called a practice organization, which is also there in some of the leading industries as well. So people who want to work on some of the futuristic technologies, they can request for a shift to the practice organization where they work on internal projects rather than being under the pressure of day-to-day deliverables. People who have R&D mindset, they can work on the practice organization. They can also go to our CTO organization, is pretty strong, where they really work on futuristic technologies. So not everybody has got the same set of need. As long as the project managers, as long as the business HR, as long as the business leaders understand what these guys are looking at and try to satisfy their individual needs, and more importantly, organization needs, some movement of this nature is very essential. I think gone are those days where people are stuck with the same project, with the same customer for 8 years, 10 years, etc. Those days are gone. Today, organizations need to know how to keep your employee mobile across projects, mobile across industry verticals and horizontals. As long as we create that kind of an environment within an organization, we'll be able to retain our employees. That is point number one. I'll take one more minute. Second is employees are very keenly looking for what kind of opportunities does the organization give me to reskill, upskill myself, both in the short term as well as in the long term. The employees continuously look for, are they able to take out time? Yes, they want to take out time, but organization has to provide those kind of learning opportunities in the company, short term. Long term could be, do we have a very structured higher education programs in the company where there are multiple university partnerships where you have those provisions, where they see a long-term 2-year, 3-year commitment to work on those projects. Thereby, the company can invest on them and retain them in the company. These are the things which we have attempted in the last couple of years, and I think it is going to give us results very soon.
Thank you so much, Dr. Keynes. Question to Dr. Ravi. While organization again is making investment in terms of skilling, how do you measure the effectiveness of skilled talent in the context of delivery of initiatives or projects within the organization? So what are some of the metrics that you have in place, right? How are you really measuring? How does it impact maybe customer satisfaction? How does it impact utilization? Any other metrics? So some insights on that, Dr. Ravi.
No, I think I'll keep it very simple. Essentially, there are 6 KPIs that we can look at it in terms of the key metrics, right? One is improved business results. How much it is impacting the business, right? In terms of onboarding the talent much faster, and also we are able to meet the project's timelines, adherence, quality related stuff, right? Then increased productivity part of it. That is another important thing. Improved quality of work. That is a third metric. Fourth one metric is employee retention. Okay. And fifth metric comes from the same employee, higher morale of the employee. And the sixth one is coming from the customer, more specifically the customer satisfaction index. So these are the 6 key metrics that we should look at it. I'll just repeat again. The first one is improved business results, increased productivity, improved quality of work. So these are the 3 things: employee side, employee retention, higher morale, and the last one is the customer satisfaction index. So these are the key metrics that we should look at it holistically.
Definitely, I think those are good measures that the ER&D industry can use, as they determine the ROI associated with skilling related investments. Question to Krishna. Right. So how do you think organizations can leverage platforms such as yours to drive skilling? So with many platforms that are available in the market today, each one may have their own unique differentiators, but what really becomes the criteria that organizations should choose, Krishna, in terms of selecting a platform?
Right. So Karan, I think the whole objective of the organization is to provide continuous learning to its employees, right? From the time they join, as they keep delivering projects, how do you upgrade their skills to take up more and more complex work, which finally results in the company doing more complex work and getting better revenues or revenue per capita, right? If that is the business logic to it, right? That means you have to make it very simple for the employee to learn, right? You have to make it very simple. That is, you need to provide an employee with MIT kind of a content, but Amazon kind of experience, right? When I say Amazon kind of experience, it's not only the depth of content, it is the technical support that's provided to the employees, right? Content is one part. Second is, typically, all of us have taken courses on MOOCs. But I'm sure all of us can say that the level of completion is very less because we tend to get stuck, right? Now, your employees also will get stuck, but then they need to immediately fall back to a live tutor, a live session with a tutor who can help him out. It requires only that 15-minute, 20-minute session in order to move him to the next phase, right? And hence, companies, while choosing these learning platforms are an extension of their internal L&D. It's not replacement of their L&D. And that's very important. The L&D still needs to work with the employee in creating the skill matrix, interact with the technology teams to figure out what are the requirements that are there. But these platforms are an extension of their L&D department. Number one is the depth of content. It's just not plain videos and all of that stuff. The depth of content, the technical support in order to help the employee complete that content. That is very important. If you actually monitor the rate of completion, that could be very less. Third is the platform allowing you to see if there is a needle movement in his skills over a period of time, right? And third is, will the platform allow the candidate to pursue multiple curated learning paths? Now, it's not only, suppose ER&D mechanical engineer also needs to learn analytics, right? There's no doubt about that. Electrical ER&D engineer also needs to know automotive cybersecurity. There's no doubt about that. Now, and hence, the platform should be configurable in order to take the person across this curated learning path. I think that is very important. I think content, curated learning path, offline support are critical to complete the learning journey. Karan, back to you.
Sure, Krishna. So we have some questions coming in from the audience. Either of you can take it. So one question is around, how do we get the engineering students be ready with, get them oriented on the industry mindset and attitude? And there's also a suggestion that's coming in which says, can we request colleges to work on industry projects in their premises with oversight and guidance from the industry, right? So one is, can we actually probably give out certain projects to the universities rather than the university students coming and working in the industry premises? Just like the question goes on to say, like doctors, engineers can take up 6-month internship training under specific industry. So thoughts on this, getting students oriented towards the industry and maybe leveraging projects as a means to do that.
So let me go first, Karan, if Ravi and Krishna are okay. See, this has to do with what is in it for the industry, what is in it for the university, what is in it for the students. There are 3 key stakeholders. Unless the needs of all the 3 are met, this model is not going to kick off. What we have attempted in this current organization and even in the previous organizations where I have worked is, we need to set up a partnership with universities to say that this is what I bring onto the table, this is what you bring onto the table. Now, if the industry gives a problem, they solve the problem and kids do that and they go to some other industry, then I'm loser as an industry. I need to ensure that the kids with whom I'm going to work with on coaching and mentoring them on a particular project, they complete the project, they come and join me, I will have interest to give them projects. Now, if I'm doing all the effort, but somebody else is eating the cake, industry is not interested. So this is where the very structured collaborative partnership with the industry and academia is essential. Industry cannot throw problems to 300 universities. Every company must look at a very strategic partnership with some, say, selected 20-30 universities that will take off, that will be serving the needs of the university, us, and this one. This is point number 1. Number 2, again, the technologies, the industry verticals are very vast. Every university don't want to spend their time in their energy effort in autonomous vehicles, EV, telecom, medical. Universities also need to know where is their strategy for the next 3 years. Universities need to decide that I am going to invest my faculty development, student development, lab development in these areas. Therefore, these are the companies with whom it's a marriage that should happen, which will be going down to the students. Both of them will get benefited along with the outcome that is necessary for the students as well. This is my view. And is it possible? Answer is absolutely yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, Dr. KNS has given a wonderful insight. Definitely, I totally agree with him. It is like a marriage between industry and academy, and both the people have to have that kind of trust and foresight. Then only it will work. Definitely, in fact, if I remember correctly, even in 86-90, when I did my BTech, we used to have 8 months of industrial training. Okay, at the end of second year, 2 months of industry training, and the 4th year, last semester, 6 months we used to spend in the industry. And it has given a beautiful insight for us, what the industry is, what is that they are looking at. It has broadened that. So there it was like a structured program. The university has a practice school kind of program. They have the industry is connected very well. And because of that, yes, we all got benefited, everybody got benefited. I think we need to have that kind of thing. And also now, one thing we all need to remember, right? At the end of the day, the kids also, we need to teach them, there are no shortcuts. I think our basic thing, whatever we have lived, is a kind of Guru Shishya Parampara. People used to struggle their entire life to get a small thing. Sometimes even at the end of your life, you might not have achieved anything in spite of putting it. But we all need to remember that culture is there. I think we should go back to our basics and look at it. Then everything will be all right. That's my view.
Krishna, any thoughts on this?
Karan, in case if there are any other, I think Dr. Ravi Kumar and Dr. KNS covered most of it. So if there are any other questions that you need to...
Absolutely. So one request again to the audience, you can keep your questions coming. We may not be able to address these questions as a part of this forum. However, we will capture these questions. We will reach back to the panelists, get their insights, because at the end of this, we would be publishing a playbook on skilling that the participants on this call as well as the larger industry can refer to. So, please keep posting questions, even if, we are not able to bring it up as a part of this forum. And yeah, go ahead.
Karan, there is one interesting question which I thought we should pick it up. This is from Sandeep Bantia. He's asking a very good question. What is the view of the panelist is the reason for the current shortage of the skills? This was not the challenge of the scale a couple of years ago. It's a very interesting question. If you're okay, I will take that answer.
Sure.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So I agree with Sandeep that especially in the last 1 year, the market has really opened up quite a bit compared to what was there during the pandemic period. Pandemic period was a completely employer market. Now it has become a completely employee market. Today, everybody has got 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 offers. What has happened in this span is that I use a word called extreme offshoring. The days when customers were hesitant to offshore work to India, very complex engineering work, which they had thought that it cannot be done outside of their premises, sitting in their offices. They realized that during the pandemic period, they said they were not allowed to come to office. The company had to go on. They figured out a way how it can be done sitting at home. If it can be done sitting at home in their own country, why it can't be done sitting at a place at home or outside of their country at a very cost-effective, much better talent, much better facilities. Now the companies which had a very wrong view of offshoring now have completely reversed, saying that nearly we can do it at any place. And India being the talent house of the world in terms of engineering, we are seeing huge amount of work flowing into India. That is the reason. You have 20,000, 30,000 openings coming up, poured in. We have only 10,000 engineers. That is what is happening. Unless we massively scale up the skilling ability of the company across multiple industry horizontal verticals, this gap is going to be. Is it good for the industry? It is good for the country. It is good for the industry. It is good for everyone. But if we don't act now, we are all going to suffer, because this demand is not going to be there in India. It will be shifted to somewhere else, wherever the companies find this one. This is the time for us, all of us, to wake up.
Thank you so much, Dr. KNS, for answering that question. But on that note, you spoke about the need for skilling at scale, and I would want to conclude this discussion getting your insights on how do we skill at scale as a nation. Maybe you can go first, and then we can have the rest of the panelists share their point of view. So we'll probably limit it to a minute, because we just have about 3 minutes to go to wrap up this discussion.
I'll just take 1 minute. I think one important thing is industries have to have very strong embracement of academia partnership. That is where, how do you bring the talent grounds up is very essential. There are many colleges, good colleges in India, which we still don't have good industry partnership. That is true, that we have to bring in one. Second, forums like this, where experts come onto a panel and there are people coming and sharing their views of what is being done across the industry sectors, is going to help. Third, what we are lacking today at a country level is segment level, skill level certifications, which need to be done at a country level, right? And the moment somebody is trained and certified in that, industry should accept whether they come from X company or Y company or Z company, right? Those kind of, do we have cyber security certifications at an industry sector level? Do we have EV technologies, both technical skills as well as domain skills? We don't have. Everybody is doing their job, but we need a standardized mechanism like an IEEE or those kind of bodies which can own up and create those industry certifications. Then we'll have a lot of people taking up and moving into the right sectors. Many things can happen. I just took up 3 things. I hope that helps.
Very helpful, Dr. KNS. Dr. Ravi and Krishna. Dr. Ravi, if you could go ahead.
Okay. No, I agree with Dr. KNS. He has covered most of it. Only one more point I just want to add. This is essentially the collaboration between the industry bodies itself. NASSCOM, CII, SAE India, SAE International, IEEE, ASME, they all need to come together. I think there should be a lot of collaboration between these to create some of the things that Dr. KNS has mentioned, okay, in terms of the certification related thing, in terms of creating Maker labs, okay, kind of thing, some of these competitions, not only for the student, but the professional communities, okay, so they can come, and some of the standards, guidelines, best practices, we should do it. I mean, each of these organizations have their own strengths. We need to combine that strengths. That's all.
Final thoughts, Krishna, as we wrap up. Sure, Karan. Poetic that you are having, letting Skill-Lync have the last word on skilling at scale. So we believe, and if you have the learner at the center, right, and you have industry, academia, and platforms like us, the point is there are multiple collaborations that we've tried and which might not have worked at scale in the past. Technology is critical for skilling, there's no doubt, for skilling at scale, right? It might not be optimal for specific skill set, that's fine. But for a majority of the skill sets, technology is critical, that is number one. Companies need to be invested in this vision, right? What do I mean by that? The companies need to give constant feedback as to what is the curriculum that is required for skilling, that is number one. Companies also need to change the way they recruit talent. All right. It's not necessary now to go to campuses and look at a one-page resume and conduct an aptitude test and communication skills to recruit. No, start recruiting based on skills, right? If you're so concerned about skills, ask for demonstration of that skills. That is, learners need to demonstrate their skills through a portfolio of projects, right? If we do that, only then the feedback loop is complete. Then you're creating an incentive for the learners to equip themselves with skills and demonstrate those skills with a proper project portfolio.
Perfect. No, that's very very insightful again, Krishna. So I would like to take this opportunity to thank all the panelists for sharing some very interesting perspectives on skilling, on upskilling, reskilling. How can we skill at scale? So thank you very much. I would like to also thank the audience who joined us today. It indeed, I hope rather, it was a learning session for all of you as well. So thank you very much again, and we look forward to sharing the playbook around skilling in the next couple of weeks. Thank you so much for your time. Have a good evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for inviting all of us. It was a great session. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot. Wonderful. Bye.